Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. We'll give it just a minute as we get started. Thank you for joining us this morning. We'll let everyone get into the Zoom room here and we'll get started in just a minute. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm going to give it just another minute while people continue to filter into the Zoom room. Thanks for being here this morning with us. All right, it looks like things are leveling out here. So let me be the first to welcome you to another edition of the Duolingo English Test webinar series. Thank you for joining us today to learn more about the wonderful world of applying to graduate programs in the United States. My name is Julie Chapman, and I will be your host today. I am truly delighted to see such a wonderful, diverse crowd of students here with us, and to be joined by three friends and experts from premier graduate programs across the U.S. Maybe you're here today because you're really interested in the graduate programs here with us, or your advisor or parent or perhaps a friend told you that you'd be a great fit for one of these schools, or maybe you're just interested in learning more about studying as an international student in the United States. Well, the good news for you is that you are absolutely in the right place with us here today. We have assembled three experts with us from the University of Alabama, the University of Louisville, and Villanova University. They will be your guides today. They are the experts in these topics. Andy, Patrice, Juan, thank you so much for joining us here today. I'm truly happy to share the stage with you. I'll pass it off to you to introduce yourselves. Andy.
Thank you, Julie. My name is Andy Goodliff. I'm with the University of Alabama. My role is I'm Associate Dean for Admissions, Recruitment, and Fellowships for our master's and doctoral programs. I'm also a professor at the University of Alabama. My specialty is geophysics. So I have sort of this dual perspective of understanding the admissions process and then also understanding it from the side of what faculty are expecting. I originally came to the US as an international student, so I have a lot of empathy for the sort of path that international students have to go through, the visa hassles. I've done that. I've been there. It's a long time ago, but really, all of us here are just really invested in bringing the best international students here. Patrice.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Andy. I myself am a former international student, so it's so awesome to be in such great company. My name is Patrice Campbell-Palmer. I am the Director of Graduate Admissions and Enrollment Management here at the University of Louisville. And my role is basically to ensure that we're able to help usher students through the process in a very streamlined way. So I'm so excited to be here with you all to talk to you about the institution as well as the process of coming to the United States as a student for graduate school. Juan?
Thank you, Patrice, and I'm equally excited as my colleagues here to join you today. My name is Juan Cruz, Associate Director of Admissions and Recruitment at Villanova University, and part of my role is to talk to students like yourself and walk you through the journey to grad school and coming to America. So I'm glad to be here, and I'm going to pass it back on to you, Julie.
Awesome. Thank you so much to you all for joining us here today. So to give you a sense of what we're going to be doing, we've gone through those introductions already. I'm going to give you a very brief overview of the Duolingo English Test, and then I'm going to turn it back to our experts to share information about their institutions as well as the process of applying to graduate programs. And rest assured, I saw many questions come in from you students. We'll be able to take care of those as well. So to start, I'll give a brief overview of the Duolingo English Test. As many of you may know, we did have an election in the United States yesterday, which may bring up questions about what the election results mean for international students interested in studying in the US. The DET, as well as our institutional colleagues, remain committed to breaking down barriers to higher education for students. And for those of you who might just be learning about the DET for the first time, this test is a test that is designed for you, the student. Our test can be conveniently taken anywhere with a stable internet connection at a time that works best for you. The test is fast, taking just 1 hour for you to complete, and you get your results back to you in just 2 days. We know that there are also a lot of fees associated with the application process, and the DET is an affordable test costing a fraction of the cost of the other English proficiency exams, with no hidden fees and the ability for you to share your results with as many programs as you like for no additional cost. Our test is backed by research to accurately assess your level of English proficiency, which has led us to be accepted and trusted by over 5,500 programs worldwide. If you, as a student, have questions about your specific sitting of the Duolingo English test, please connect with our support team through your student dashboard, and they'll be happy to help. And now I'm going to turn it back over to our experts who are going to share about their programs and how to apply to graduate programs broadly in the United States. So Patrice, I'll pass it over to you.
Awesome. Again, so happy to be here. So the University of Louisville, we're located in Louisville, Kentucky, and we are a city that is probably, you can say, within 5 hours of some major metropolitan cities in the US, including Chicago, Nashville, St. Louis, Pittsburgh, to name a few. We have 24,000 students on our campus, both at the graduate and undergraduate level. A third of those are graduate students. Next slide. So here's a list of all our schools and colleges. We have a wide variety of programs here at the university, over 135 programs, whether or not it's a master's, doctorate, certificates. We do have a few dual degree programs, some programs that are only online. Many of our international students are coming into our College of Business. They're coming into public health, engineering, and our IPIPS program. Those are the programs that are immunology and some of the biotechnology programs that we do have. Many our programs are highly ranked in many of our grad schools, from our MBA to education, engineering, law, and medicine is also there. And we are considered a top 100 public institution here in the US. So what is the role of the grad school here where I work? So one, as I mentioned before, we provide the admissions processing services for all the graduate programs outside of law, dentistry, and medicine, like if you're going for an actual MD degree. We are the ones too that offer, we establish the educational policies and the minimum guidelines for all the graduate programs in the university, and ensure that they are keeping that standard for our accreditation. We are the academic home for programs that are considered interdisciplinary, and that's where we have a lot of our innovation that happens, where we have programs from medicine and engineering come together for translational biotechnology as a program, and it almost serves as an incubator for people to collaborate for their students. We're also the ones that advocate for our graduate students. We provide scholarships to recruit and retain our students. We have lots of professional development opportunities. We serve as advisors for the Graduate Student Council, and we work to foster an environment of belonging, equity, and inclusion. So our international students, they have the opportunities to really dive into campus, not only in their academic programs, but also within the wider community outside of that program. So I know as an international student, one of the first things you're thinking about is, how do I fund my education? We know that considering coming to the US is a very, very daunting thing. So there are a variety of ways that people are able to fund their U of L graduate education. We do offer assistantships and fellowships. The main difference between an assistantship and a fellowship is the fact that with an assistantship, you have both of them, you have 20 hours a week around that you are, well, I'm sorry. For the assistantship, you have about 20 hours a week that you are working, and what you get for that is full tuition remission. You are able to get your health insurance, you're able to get a stipend also. Some might be research-based, while others might be teaching-based. A fellowship is everything that the assistantship is, without the commitment of having to work 20 hours per week. Some of our programs also offer in-state tuition remission, specifically our engineering programs at the master's level. So if you are interested in engineering at the master's level, we have a number of programs. They do offer in-state tuition for international students. All right, so the application process, this is going to be something that you hear a couple of times today. So we require an application. We require transcripts. Those are official transcripts from all your post-secondary institutions that you've attended. We require here at U of L your resume or your CV. We do require at least 2 letters of recommendations. For some of our or doctoral programs, we do require 3. Those recommendation letters need to be coming from people who can speak very clearly about your academic journey and where they think you can be as a when it comes to your academics. So it can't be a personal friend. In some cases, it can't be a supervisor. Like, you have to be able to speak clearly about who you can be as a scholar. There are requirements for your personal statements. We do also have essay prompts, and in my next slide, I will talk to you about tips and tricks for your personal statements. There are some of our programs that still require the GRE, but a large majority of our programs has established a very more holistic approach to how they make decisions. So writing your personal statement, why do you even need a personal statement? The personal statement is an opportunity for you to tell your program that you're interested in about who you are. They can gain a deeper understanding of who you are to ensure that you're the right fit for their program. Because some programs, they don't admit students they can't fund. So if you are an amazing student and you have 5 amazing students, that personal statements help to determine whether or not you are one of the students chosen and funded by the department. Do your research on the department and any potential faculty mentors that you are applying to. This ensures that it's a great match for you. Pick 2 or 3 points that you want the committee to know about. Make sure that you are keeping your introductions and your conclusions interesting. It needs to be professional. It has to have a serious tone with proper grammar. And just make sure that you are able to tie in your career goals and your personal interests when it comes to studying in the field. And proofread again, and avoid procrastination. Your personal statement should not be something that you are writing in one sitting. Thank you.
Thank you again, Patrice. And so, again, my name is Juan Cruz, Associate Director for Villanova University. And I'll talk to you a little bit more about our institution. So here are a list of our graduate programs. In the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, we offer 2 PhD programs in philosophy and theology, over 20 master's programs, and over 30 pre- and post-master's certificates. All of this is available online, but I wanted to showcase these programs to our audience today. Next slide. And so these are some fast facts about Villanova University. If you're not too familiar with us, we were founded by the Augustinian Order in 1842. We are an institution rooted in the Christian faith, and we are welcoming of all backgrounds. Wherever you may be from, whatever your faith may be, you are welcome here at Villanova University. Villanova is a top-ranked university according to U.S. News and World Report. We have around 10,000 students spread out across 6 colleges, and a good portion are graduate students. As you can see, there are 3,000. The average class size is 15 students. So when you walk into our classroom, not only will you know the faculty's name, the faculty will know your name, and it's one of the highlights of the education that we provide here at Villanova. Over 300 or nearly 300 students in Graduate College of Liberal Arts and Sciences receive funding support of approximately $6.5 million. And I'll go over our funding opportunities over the next few slides. And also, whether you're looking at graduate school as a stepping stone for your future doctoral work or as a terminal point of your formal academic career, please note that over 60 graduate students at Villanova present at an academic conference each year, meaning that you are joining an incredible amount of scholars here at Villanova should you decide to join us. Next slide. So an overview of the application process, as Patrice mentioned, you probably will see versions of this throughout the rest of our session today, but it is fairly straightforward of submitting your application. You'll then have to submit the application requirements, and then it depends on the program you're applying for. For all of our programs, we can accept unofficial transcripts, meaning that you can upload them yourself on our portal. Many of our programs will require 3 letters of recommendation, but a few will require 2 or even less than that. And then after that, it will depend on what the program is looking for. Some of our programs will require a statement of goals, some will not. Some will require a writing sample, and some will not. And all of this is not just available on our website, it's also available within the application, so you have full knowledge of everything you need to complete your application. And then, of course, we have our international specific requirements. That was in the last, that's okay. Our international specific requirements, which includes a proof of English language proficiency, which of course Duolingo is an option for you, and an official credential evaluation from a NACIS member. So for those of you who are not familiar with a credential evaluation, it is a comparison of 2 different educational systems. And so that's one of our requirements here at Villanova. And last but certainly not the least, our department review, which can take 2 to 8 weeks depending on your program. Some of our programs will wait until after the deadline has passed before reviewing all applications. Some of our other programs will review your application as soon as it's complete. So it truly depends on your interest. The next slide, please. And our funding opportunities. So this is a quick summary of what we provide here at Villanova. You have access to departmental funding, which can include, includes tuition scholarships, graduate assistantships, half-graduate assistantships. We also have university office positions available for international students to apply to, such as the Office of Residence Life, my home office, the Office of Graduate Studies, Alumni Affairs, and more. And then we have some US-specific scholarships that I won't go over too much into this presentation. Next slide, please. And so what do these funding opportunities look like? Well, if selected for a tuition scholarship, it can provide a tuition remission in exchange for approximately 7 hours per week, or you can be selected for a graduate assistantship, which provides a tuition remission and a stipend in exchange for 20 hours of work per week to the department or university office that awarded you either the assistantship or the scholarship. And I do want to mention and emphasize that the numbers you see here are approximates, so please don't take note of them as something that you will receive, especially because for fall 2025, we do expect some of these numbers to increase. Next slide, please. And in terms of funding eligibility, for departmental funding, we are accepting US and international students. You have to be a degree-seeking student, meaning that you are pursuing either a master's or a doctoral program with us. You also have to be taking courses on a full-time basis, which the vast majority of our international students on an F1 visa are. And you also have to apply for the fall. So many of our fall opportunities are for fall entering students only. So if you're interested in joining Villanova in the spring, unfortunately, there's likely not many opportunities for you to apply to. And for university offices, I like to compare it to applying for jobs. And so each job will have a different criteria of what that particular office is looking for. And certainly the responsibilities will be very different depending on the office that you ultimately apply for and perhaps will get accepted in. So our funding deadlines are a lot earlier, and they are January 6th, February 1st, or March 1st. I want to emphasize that because we do have international applicant deadlines for those who are not interested in funding, and that is in May. But if you are interested in funding, and I would presume that you are, those deadlines are January 6th, February 1st, or March 1st for the programs listed. Next slide, please. And I just want to talk a little bit more about Villanova itself, more than just the funding opportunities that we have. So the pictures you see before you is of Vasey Hall and the Graduate Student Lounge. This space is open in 2024 and is part of Villanova's commitment to serving the needs of our graduate students. We offer graduate newsletter, weekly events, graduate student organizations that you can join. We have monthly happy hours that our colleagues in the Grad Center promotes and provides. We have career-focused workshops, counselors, clothing drives, emergency funds, so many ways that we support graduate students at Villanova. And of course, international students have access to all these support systems. Next slide, please. And so those student support systems are access to the Writing Center, access to our Center for Speaking and Presentation. If you are like anything like me, that you have, you get nerves when you're public speaking, you can access our staff over there and talk to them, and they will give you tips on how to be a better public speaker. There's an Office of Belonging and Inclusion whose sole purpose is to make sure that every student on campus, absolutely every student on campus, feels that they belong here at Villanova. Learning support services, counseling. For those of you who are coming to the United States for the first time and you won't have access necessarily to friends and family that you've relied on for the majority of your life prior to coming to the United States, please know that we are here to help support you physically and mentally. There are also research supports that Villanova provides, which includes travel grants that you can apply for, summer research fellowships for you to be able to conduct research during the summer. And imagine applying for a doctoral program or applying for your first job after grad school and being able to say on your resume or CV that you are a published author. And that is certainly possible at Villanova University if your article was selected to be part of Concept, an academic journal that we have here. And then there are so many ways that we support students through our Career Center by allowing you to be part of an alumni network of around 20,000 folks. You have access to industry-specific advisors and Resume AI. So you have the best of both worlds of having access to a person that you can talk to and utilizing the most up-to-date technology that we can provide from the Career Center. Next slide, please. And for those of you who are not familiar with where Villanova is located, we are right outside of Philadelphia. So I like to say that it is the best of both worlds. You have your close-knit college community, but then you have access to a major city like Philadelphia, or Philly for short. And so for those of you who are not familiar with Philadelphia, it's the 6th largest city in the country and the 2nd best place to visit according to US News and World Report. It's a cultural capital known as a city of murals. One of my favorite parts of being around Philadelphia and going to Philadelphia is seeing these massive murals and public art that creates a city. It is the former capital of the US and Independence Hall, where the US Constitution was written. So there's so many cultural and non-academic related things that you can do in Philadelphia while still being close to places like New York City and Washington, D.C. I think it is one of the greatest benefits of attending a school like Villanova. And then I would like to formally invite all of you to our virtual open house on November 13th, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You'll have a chance to hear from faculty, staff, and a panel of current graduate students for an inside look into Villanova University. That is November 13th, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And I'd be happy to share that link and that registration form after the session today. And finally, but certainly not the least, as a thank you and appreciation for joining Duolingo's webinar and our thanks for considering Villanova, please use this application fee waiver code to waive our application fee. Thank you very much, and I'm going to pass it on to Andy.
All right, thank you very much, Juan. So again, my name is Andy Goodliff. I'm going to talk about the University of Alabama, a little bit about us and a little bit about our application process. So if we can go to the next slide. So the University of Alabama is in the southeast of the US. We're in the deep south. I consider this a wonderful place to live. We talk about Southern hospitality, very friendly people, great food. Not the healthiest food, but it's really, really good. The University of Alabama is the flagship public research university of the state of Alabama. We were founded in 1831, so we've been in this business for a while, almost 200 years. So it's a very historic campus. We are an R1 research university, so that's sort of the top tier of research universities in the US. So that means you're going to find wonderful research facilities, top faculty in their fields, good funding for the programs. On campus, we're home to 41,000 students. So we have a very large student body. Most of those are undergraduate students. 6,000 of those are the graduate students that I oversee in my role. And those 6,000 graduate students are spread across about 150 different master's and doctoral programs. So I think in terms of doctoral programs, we have about 80 different doctoral programs amongst those. Our international students come from about 80 different countries. So we're a very, very diverse student population. Our campus is huge. We have about a 1,300-acre campus. If you were to walk around our campus, it's about probably 6 kilometers around the perimeter. So it's a very big campus. We've got our own bus service. We have our own police force. We're basically like a small city. And again, I want to emphasize, just being in the South, we have a very, very mild climate, at least mild in the winter. It's very, very hot in the summers. As a lot of the US descends into the winter, we're still sitting in sort of the, I think today it's getting up to about 27, 30 degrees C, something like that. So for a lot of our international students who don't want to do the snow thing, we're a good place to come. But a lot of people want to come and experience that snow. If they want to do that, we're not the best place. So next slide. All right, what I want to talk about is a little bit about what is the goal of a graduate program application. So why do we have all these different requirements? And basically what we're trying to do is look at, do you have the potential for success, and are you a good fit for a particular program? And each part of that application is going to measure this in some different way. And Patrice talked a little bit about this, but I want to emphasize a lot of this. So those letters of recommendation are very important. And most of our programs require 3 letters of recommendation. They're going to be from mostly professors that you've worked with. But if you've got, excellent work experience, it might be from a supervisor. But whoever is writing that letter needs to be able to talk about your work ethic. They need to be able to talk about your skill set. They need to be able to talk about how you work in a team. And especially in some of our STEM programs, that's very important because when you're working in a lab, you're working with a group of other people. We want to make sure that you fit into that team. So as Patrice mentioned, these should not be from a personal friend. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for someone who can really comment on how good you are at what you want to do. So these letters of recommendation are very important. We do get some letters of recommendation that might be from a professor that you took a class from. And it might be that you got an A in that class. If that professor really didn't know you in that class setting, if it was a large classroom and all they really know is what grade you got, that's not the best person because we can see grades on the transcripts. But if you worked with that professor closely, you went to office hours, you did research with them, that sort of thing, that's the sort of person we're looking for. Now, transcripts, we're obviously looking at your academic performance. And in terms of requirements for us, we only require unofficial transcripts, just copies that you've uploaded. We do not require a transcript evaluation. We actually have people in-house who do that. We're often not just looking at that overall GPA. Often we get students who say to us, you know, I've got this GPA, can I get in? We're looking at more than your overall GPA. As a faculty member, I can say when we're reviewing applications, we're often looking at grades within specific classes. So it might be within my own program. Differential equations is very important. So we're looking sort of at, you know, Calc 3. How did you do in calculus, in your calculus class? Or how did you do in your structural geology class, or you know, that sort of thing. So we're looking in detail at those transcripts. In general, as a faculty member, we're looking at the overall GPA to make sure you're eligible. But when the faculty are reviewing that, they're not so interested in that overall GPA. Now, also, we're looking at writing samples, and statement of purpose, which I'll talk about in a moment, is one of those writing samples. Some of our programs might require research proposals, that sort of thing. But we're looking at how well do you formulate ideas and solutions. So we're looking at things like those critical thinking skills. And so I want to emphasize again something that Patrice mentioned. Have people look over all your writing. These samples of writing that you send in need to have been looked at multiple times, and they need to be really good. They need to really reflect how good a student you are. And then when we're looking at the application, all these different parts, most programs are going to do a holistic review. So we're going to look at the whole student. So it might be some of your grades are not so great, but if you have some great work experience, that's great. You know, that is important. And different programs across our campus may put different weight on different parts of the application. So GRE scores might be more important to some programs than others. Most of our programs don't require the GRE. Can you go to the next slide, please? I do want to just mention the statement of purpose, because I think a lot of students, a lot of our applicants undersell themselves. I think it's very important that you really do a good job on this statement of purpose. And this is an important part of your application. When I'm thinking about the statement of purpose, I typically think about it in terms of three main parts. And this is very consistent with what has been mentioned already. We want to know what you've done in the past that has prepared you for the program. You're going to talk a little bit about your previous degrees, maybe classes, work experience, that sort of thing. What is the foundation that we're going to take at the University of Alabama and build upon? We also want to see, why do you want to come to a particular university or program? Why do you want to come to the University of Alabama? And in a lot of the statements of purpose that we get, this is not well developed. So that statement of purpose really needs to be tailored to each program, to each university. So it might be that you want to come to the University of Alabama and work in our materials science PhD program because we've got one of the best academic microscopes in the world. That's the sort of thing you want to talk about in your statement of purpose. You might say that you want to come and work with a particular faculty member because they're a leader in the field. So you need to talk about those sorts of things. And then we want to know about those goals. What do you want to do when you finish that program? We're going to look at all these things to make sure that you're a good fit to the University of Alabama or whatever university you're applying to. So we need to know, why should we consider your application? You need to sell yourself. We need to know that you've seriously considered us. You need to tell us why you want to come. And then we want to make sure that those future goals are a fit. Next slide, please. And you don't need to answer this question, but I do want to sort of pose this thought question, because I talk to a lot of our program directors about, how do they review the applications? And in most cases, that statement of purpose is probably more important than your overall GPA. And to put that in context, I want to say if you've got really great grades, so your undergraduate grades are fantastic, but your statement of purpose is really not that great, it's going to be hard for us to admit you because we really don't know what your goals are, why you want to come to the University of Alabama, etc. However, if we've got a student who they're good grades, but they're not fantastic, but they have a really good statement of purpose. I can see that that student is passionate about what they want to do. I can see that what they want to do is a good fit with what we do. I can see that their future goals are aligned with where we can get you. That's a student we're going to look at very seriously, despite their grades probably not being as good as they should be, because they have passion. They know what they want to do. So I want to make sure that you take this statement of purpose very, very seriously. Next slide, please. I do want to mention deadlines a little bit. And I want to remind you to apply well in advance of any deadlines. So if you see that the deadline is December 1, you need to be applying for that program, hopefully, at least a month out from that. It might be that there are some problems with the application. That gives us some time to resolve this. And then also, it might be that a funding deadline is earlier than the program deadline. So we want to make sure that you have the best opportunities for funding. Now, some departments have priority deadlines. Typically, those are deadlines where if you want to get funding, you need to meet that priority deadline. They may also just have a general deadline. That's, if you meet that deadline, you might not qualify for funding. We also have some programs that have rolling deadlines. So a lot of our Masters in Engineering and business programs, they will admit people continuously. Even if you see a rolling deadline, applying early is really important. Some of our programs have really early deadlines. Our psychology PhD program deadline is in 7 days. For fall 2025. A lot of our PhD programs, January, February deadlines. But the key is the best applications for fall admission are applying October or November of the previous year, possibly into December. Next slide, please. Do want to quickly mention funding. So very similarly to my colleagues, we offer teaching and research assistantships. So teaching assistantships where you might help teach a class, research assistantships where you might help do research, help a faculty with research. We have fellowships where there's really not that work responsibility. We're just giving you a fellowship because you are a really excellent applicant. And then a lot of our departments have scholarships as well. If students are on assistantships or fellowships, and that's 83% of our international students, you're receiving a 100% tuition scholarship. We also cover any additional fees that might be charged to the student. We provide a stipend that contributes towards your living costs. At the University of Alabama, that varies from about $17,000 to $36,000. It varies dramatically across the programs. And we also offer health insurance as well. And health insurance, it's complicated in the US, so we do try to make sure that that is covered for all of our students. And I think that's that's sort of all I've got from the University of Alabama.
Amazing. Thank you so much to all of you. That was incredibly thorough, very thoughtful, and very helpful for the students that were tuning in here with us today. We do have a couple of questions that I want to take a few minutes to answer. You all have talked about the process of applying as an international student and gave some incredibly helpful tips in terms of how to navigate that process. We have some students that are really interested in learning a little bit more about ways to actually integrate onto campus once they get there. So you go through this process, you're successful in gaining admission, you show up on campus. What are your recommendations in terms of how students can take everything that they've learned up to that point in their life and find a way to seamlessly integrate into the communities that you have on your campus?
Well, I'll start that out. I mean, we have a lot of opportunities for students to get involved. And, when they come to orientation, one of the things I really emphasize is get involved on campus. Get out of your academic silo and meet people from other disciplines. And we really present a lot of opportunities for that, both through graduate school and our international office. So these could be just social events. So, first couple of days, we throw a massive social event and we want all of our students to come and we want them to meet faculty, students, current students, new students, and just start those relationships. We have lots of opportunities for our international students to meet with members of the community. We have a tremendous community group called Tuscaloosa International Friends. Those are families who will invite students into their homes for Thanksgiving, just go to the store or whatever. There's lots of professional development opportunities. We want those students to get involved on campus. There's a temptation for many of our STEM students to sort of disappear off into their lab. We pull them out of that lab and we get them involved. And part of that is also because we want students from different disciplines to talk to each other, because they might find that there's synergy between those disciplines. And we really emphasize that the big advances in research happen on the edge of fields. When someone from chemistry talks to someone from finance even, that's important.
I want to echo what Andy mentioned. So here at the University of Louisville, we have something called the plan. And basically plan is where you are preparing. So you're planning what you want to do. And we have our students coming in for a variety of plan workshops. And it varies from writing academically. I know that's a very big thing for international students, is how to write in terms of here in the US, because it's different. I know for me, there's a lot of run-on sentences that I still struggle with 20 years later, because that's just how we wrote in Jamaica. There are opportunities for the 3-minute thesis. That is a program that our university has as well. We try, similar to what Andy said, bringing people outside of their programs through some type of community building. Lots of clubs and organizations that you can also be a part of on campus. And it's very important because you want to be happy where you are, right? And a lot of the reasons why sometimes international students don't transition as well as they could is because they are lonely even when they're on campuses that are 20, 30,000 students. So it's just very important for you to be able to find your community in any way, shape, or form, and just make sure that you are, and when you are feeling lonely, know that there's support that's there, whether or not it's with a mentor, finding a mentor, a faculty mentor, staff mentor, finding someone who can see you and speak to you when you are when you need that you can do it conversation, because there will be times as an international student that you will question whether or not you made the right decision. So you definitely want to put yourself in a situation where you'll be able to hear or be just be encouraged to push forward.
Yeah, so that's an excellent question that I only had a few minutes to touch on in the presentation, but I'm glad that Andy and Patrice were able to expound on it. One of the defining words that I would describe Villanova as community, and we try to extend that to all of our students, domestic and international. In fact, those first few weeks that you're in the United States prior to the start of your courses are probably going to be in our orientation. And the orientation is not just relegated to like where you shop for groceries, where you should park, how you should act in the United States, or how you can expect some of those cultural differences from your home country in the US, but they also include a lot of community events, a chance for you to meet international students from other programs, from other schools within Villanova, so that when those moments of loneliness that Patrice mentioned, when those moments of uncertainty eventually comes, I think for all of us, for our US students as well, you have support systems in place within your community and from the university itself. So great question.
Amazing. Well, in the interest of time, I want to say thank you to our panelists for sharing all of your expertise and providing a really great information for our students so that they can successfully complete those applications to graduate programs across the U.S. The U.S. Students, thank you so much for joining us here today for another rendition of the Duolingo English Test webinar. We will be sharing your information with these schools so that you'll hear from them directly, hopefully here in the next several weeks. I'm wishing everyone a very happy Wednesday wherever you are across the United States. And thank you so much again for joining.